Welcome to week 7. Week 7 deals with what is known as tabulated data. Data that's in an organized form. That's what that means. The data applies to specific protective systems, either open cut, which is under paragraph, and let's learn what a paragraph is. B right here is a paragraph. It's got parentheses and it says design of sloping and benching. That's an open cut system. And C, let's see if I can find it real quick. There's nothing quick about this, but I'm going to do it anyway. It's got to be it's got to be a paragraph C, and that's a different looking animal right here. And C, designed for support systems, shield systems, and other protective systems. Okay, that's the one thing I really wanted you to know, that there's really two sections to this that are important to this 651, and that's paragraph B, what I just showed you, and paragraph C. Now, there's a lot within these two paragraphs, C and B, but just know it's there. Let's see. There's also when you get into systems such as shield and hydraulic shoring and other protective system, either constructed by the employer or his designee, they're all in accordance with, remember, although you may have read about your open cut stuff up in trenching and shoring and benching. There was like B's, B1 through 4. Well, we got C's now, C1 through 4. Not going to go through all those specifically, but I encourage you to get one of the copies that I have floating around here of that 652 paragraph C. Now, there's 4 options under the 4 different paragraphs that we can go through. So the more I look at what I'm looking at and reading what I'm reading, is we're not going to get through all of this and learn anything if I just fly through it. But I want you to get you one of these, and if you don't have a copy, I can send you one. This is the stuff you need to know when you're on a job site and you're in charge of things. You bet, if you're the competent person, you better know your stuff. You know, if you're the employer, you better know your competent person, because this could end up costing lives and money, the stuff here. So this is extremely important for you guys aspiring to get up into management in the construction industry. Okay, but let me bring it back down to earth a little bit. I want to get us through week 7, and we're not there while I'm talking about this video, but I want to prepare us for when we get there. So with that said, I want to jump right into tabulated data. And I've got an exercise here, if I can pull it up, that now I'm getting away from the OSHA, even though they're completely joined at the hip. Let me pull up some this comes from a company, Speedshore. And let me make sure I've got it large enough so that you can see a good deal of it. This is Speedshore tabulated data. And I want to read some of this. I don't know if you can see it or not. It's awful small. Let me see if I can bring it up a little bigger without getting it out of bounds. Well, that may help a bit. But in this highlighted section here, the sentence up above it says Speedshore's tabulated data complies with the OSHA standard as stated in the Code of Federal Regulations 29, Part 1926, Subpart P, Excavations, Section 1926, 652, and there it is. See the little C there? That's about the systems, not the open cut stuff. And you see there is a 2. So that's there because that's the compliance that this particular company uses. And it's aluminum hydraulic shoring, I can tell you now, because most of this shoring stuff that we use that's portable is aluminum. And it says this data shall be only used by the contractor's competent person. Now, I'm not going into what a competent person is. I'm just going to say that it's important. I'll read a sentence here. It says, the competent person shall be experienced and knowledgeable in trenching and excavation procedures, soil identification, and the use of speed shore. That's a company. That's a particular brand. Vertical shores. All personnel involved in the installation, removal, and use of vertical shores shall be trained, etc., etc., etc. And I'm not making light of this. There's just so much here. We could have a 10-week course on OSHA and still not have enough time to get it all laid out. And then it goes on down and we get into definitions. And I'm not going to spend much time there. If you want to get into soil, I'm not asking if you want to, but Appendix A, I think, is the classification of soils, and that's different classifications than that you learned in basic soil science. So, and some of you may have been through this, so you can take a look at that. Now, and I want to look at. All right, let's look at soil classifications. I'll get to skipping around and we won't get anything. So in order to use the data presented, and it talks about tables here, and it has a name for this is table VS1, table VS2, and table VS3. The soil type are types in which the excavation is cut shall first be determined by the competent person according to the OSHA soil classification system, subpart A, appendix B. Appendix A, subpart P, appendix A. We know where that is. Now I'm moving a little bit fast, but I'm trying to get you ready for your assignment when it's time for that in the week 7 module. Table VS3 is also for use in type C60. Not going to get into C60. It's similar to type C, but it's a little bit different, and that's for another time. Well, here it is. It's a moist, cohesive soil or a moist, dense, granular soil which does not fit into type A or type B classification, and so on and so forth. But let me get on down here to the table. All right, sheeting. That's a big piece of what's called fin board. Just imagine a 4x8 sheet of plywood, and you've got what's called fin form, and it's got a way to pick it up, and it's put in the trench when there's evidence of raveling, and raveling is dirt just falling off the walls, big clods or something that might hit somebody in the head. You'll be required to use that. Remember, if you guys have been in cranes, whatever the crane rule or whatever it was that you're talking about, they all seem to have notes. Well, we're going to be identifying what kind of cylinders we need, what kind of vertical, the spacing between vertical rails and things like that. We're going to learn that in about 15 minutes, I hope. So there'll be some of that you're as part of the data. But sheeting is just a big piece of board, and it's called fin form. It's not wood. I really don't know what it is. I think it's a hard plastic. And sheeting is used only to prevent local raveling or sloughing of the trench. That's rocks falling down. face between the vertical shores. You know, the vertical shores sometimes only 3-inch wide, and then 10 feet down you got another one. Well, there's a lot of open trench face there in between. So sometimes sheeted is used, and as you can see right here, it does talk about plywood right here. 3/4 inch fin form, it talks about that. Now I'm just introducing terms right now. And when sheeting is used, it shall extend to the top of the excavation, so on and so forth. You can read. So this is important. It has to go to the bottom of the trench, except in table for excavation depths, 0 to 25 feet, where the sheeting shall extend to the bottom of the excavation. In some cases, it doesn't have to, but in notes will be specific about that. And we will get to those here almost right in a minute, second, something. Here we go. All right, this is an example to illustrate the use of tables VS1, we mentioned that, VS2, and VS3. You have 3 different kinds of soil here, and you will be identifying them. The problem is to design a trench safety system using speed shore vertical shores for an excavation 8 foot deep, 4 feet wide, and OSHA type V soil. So you see, that's an example. Now let's go down here. Let's look at table VS2 for type V. Can we find it down here somewhere? I hope. Table VS1. Let's look at VS1 then. It's close to us. So table VS1 is type A soil. And if your depth of excavation, now follow me here, first thing we look at is the depth of excavation. If it's 0 to 15, follow my arrow. We will be following that line all the way across to get these cylinder sizes and these vertical shoring spacing. That'll tell us that. But let's start with 0 to 15. Let's say that the trench size, where is our trench depth is 0 to 15. So the maximum horizontal spacing in feet for, right across here, it says hydraulic cylinders, is 8 feet. The maximum vertical spacing has a note here, is 4 feet. They're 4 feet apart, and the horizontal spacing, which is as they're laying parallel to the bottom of the trench, is they're 8 feet apart. So, and we're in a deep trench here, 0 to 15. Width of excavation, what is the width? 0 to 8. And then if we're 0 to 8, we need a 2-inch diameter cylinder. See, we're still selecting cylinders. And if we were 0 to 25, see, we'd be looking at different sizes. But since we're staying with 0 to 15, we're going to be having the spacing for the maximum horizontal spacing at 8, the maximum vertical spacing at 4, the cylinder size at 2-inch, and 2-inch diameter here for the 8 to 12. Now see, we're reading down now. 0 to 8, then you have a 2-inch diameter. 8 to 12 feet width of excavation, 2-inch with a note. Now, let's just take a minute and I'll get right back. Well, we can go ahead and finish it here. 12 to 15, you would be using 2-inch diameter. It has a note 1, and the sheeting is over here by itself, but it has a note. So that's how you go through this one. We just went through real quickly this first problem here, the VS1. Now I want to go down below. See, we've got 3 to do, and you'll have 3 to do on your assignment. But let's go down here. Here's your notes. The bottom of the sheeting will shall extend within 2 feet of the bottom of the excavation. If there's an indication of a possible loss of soil from behind or below the support system, sheeting must extend to the bottom of the excavation. So that was note 2. And then that first one, that took care of that note. So if we've got we've got sheeting here, so we have the same note for 0 to 20, 0 to 25, we have a note 7. Now that's because we're in a 0 to 25. That's a pretty deep trench somewhere, anywhere in there. So let's just, for the heck of it, go down here to 7. Sheeting shall extend to the bottom of the excavation. So if you don't have sheeting that's long enough to extend to the bottom, you either need to make it or get it, because it'll have to go there. Now then, it needs these two: your engineer, your registered engineer, and your licensed professional engineer stamp is something that you will be needing on your notes. And that also is in that 652, 1926, 652, the protective system. It talks about where you're going to leave, where the information can be found. How did you design it? What did you build it? You know, did you use manufacturers' tabulated data to select your system? And so all of that needs to be available. Look, this is to help you get through that test. This is not to tell you you're a competent person. That'll be up to your employer. But please take note of these things, and be sure, if you're not understanding how to read, this is a very simple sheet to read here. Just understand that you're going to be asked to come up with these answers for one VS1, type B soil example, and a C60 soil. But no fret, just remember, if you have a note, make a note of the note, on your assignment. I'm not sure exactly what that assignment is, but I'll bet you it's just really, really close to this one right here. But knowing that you go through it, and if you I don't care if you look at this, if you bring this up when you're taking that thing, as long as you don't mess with Proctorio. Proctorio has been a nemesis here this past term, so we don't want to aggravate it. But take a good look at these, and have this information close to you when you take your test. And I'm going to shut it down there and process this thing. And of course, we're way away from week 7, but we'll have this video there for when we get there. Y'all have a good day. No, don't.